I'm Alex Newman with the New American Magazine, and today I want to talk to you about efforts to nationalize our state and local police departments. These efforts go back decades, but the Obama administration has accelerated that push and is now openly working to turn your local cops into extensions of federal power. In addition to being unconstitutional, this is an absolutely terrible idea for a number of reasons. First, let's talk about Obama's scheming on this front. President Obama has been known for complaining about the militarization of police and for attacking the rights of Americans with silly slogans like "weapons of war don't belong on our streets." Meanwhile, he's been flooding our streets with actual weapons of war: tanks, armored personnel carriers, grenade launchers, you name it, all for our local police departments. After the unrest in Ferguson, much of which was fueled by Obama's ally and financier George Soros and his billions, according to an in-depth investigation by the Washington Times, Obama started complaining about the very militarization his administration was engaged in. So using an executive order, Obama created what he called his Task Force on 21st Century Policing to supposedly study this issue. What do you suppose his task force said? Surprise, we need to nationalize our police departments. Of course, they didn't use the word nationalize or federalize, probably because most Americans would properly recoil in horror. Instead, his committee claimed we need federal quote-unquote standards for our police departments. During the Ferguson fiasco, UN boss Ban Ki-moon even demanded that the city police obey what he termed international standards. Just like the Obama administration's nationalizing of education with Common Core was imposed on our states through federal bribes, the task force proposed bribing, and bribing is the correct word here, all of our local police departments with grants if they would just submit to Obama's national standards. Critics ridiculed the plan to create Obama cops as Common Core for police, but this is no joking matter. In March of 2015, the Obama administration announced that it had chosen 6 pilot cities to test out some of his nationalization scheming. The radical plan was dubbed the National Initiative for Building Community Trust and Justice during its inception in early 2014. In a nutshell, it's using U.S. taxpayer dollars to deploy so-called experts and researchers charged with training our police officers to act in a manner that the Obama administration deems just. In essence, doing the bidding of the Obama administration. Officially, the Justice Department is helping local officials fight crime, too. The first cities being targeted are Birmingham, Alabama, Fort Worth, Texas, Gary, Indiana, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Stockton, California. But they're not planning to stop there. You can be sure of that. In May, Obama approved another one of his task force's recommendations and pretended to ban handouts of military gear from the feds to our local police. However, this was blatant deception. What he really did was say that local and state police will only get certain military equipment from the federal government if they agree to the federal government's quote-unquote policing standards. The riots in Baltimore only poured fuel on the fire, with Obama's close allies like Al Sharpton demanding that the Justice Department just go ahead and nationalize all our police departments. But nationalizing the police is a terrible idea, and history shows us that it's extraordinarily dangerous. First of all, if local communities are having trouble keeping their police departments in line, which is what the Obama administration is arguing, how is transferring that control to D.C., which more than 2/3 of Americans in polls say is out of control and a threat to our liberty, going to remedy that? It won't, of course. It will only make real and imagined problems much worse. Beyond that, the danger of centralizing power is extreme. When you think of national police forces, what do you think of? If you're like most people, the Soviet KGB, the National Socialist SS, or the East German Stasi probably come to mind. And if power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, what do you think is going to happen when DC has absolute power over your police department? Nothing good, that's for sure. If we want to maintain our freedoms, we need to support our local police and keep them independent. The alternative, so-called Obama cops patrolling our streets following dictates from D.C., will almost certainly lead to disaster. Get involved in your local area and make sure your state and local governments do not accept bribes from the Obama administration to surrender your community's ability to govern itself and run its own police department. Thank you.